I am Vinnie Tortorich. Folks, your good intentions have been stolen, but don't worry. I'm here to help you get them back. You may be soft and succulent at the beginning of this process, but hang in there. Before long, you will be lean and mean, guaranteed. I've been getting a lot of people saying, hey, man, and this is what's so weird about the internet world and the world as we know it today, right? People only know what's right in front of them. Right? Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like
you can't be conscious of everything.
Right.
Right. You have to pay attention to the things that are important to you right now and in the near future.
People started saying to me, and not people, this happened to me like 3 times, because not many people get to talk to me. So they go, hey man, I see your coffee is back. The purecoffeeclub.com is back. And I'm like, it never went away. Oh, but it's back, right? I mean, it's back. No, it's not back. Pure Coffee Club never went away. And as a matter of fact, out of all 3 of my companies, my online companies, it's the only one that kept running smoothly. I've talked about this before. I'll continue to talk about it. I was running those companies with a very close friend of mine. We had been friends for years and years and years. And for whatever reason, it wasn't working out with him anymore. I have my thoughts as to why. But he stopped minding the store and things started to go haywire. And then we had some supply chain breaks and he couldn't recover from that. So I had to go in and take over. Well, of the 3 companies, purevitaminclub.com, purecoffeeclub.com, and NSNG Foods, where you can buy the ultra fats, the only company that kept spinning running like a clock, as they would say, or spinning like a top. I don't know if anyone knows what a top is anymore, but the only one that kept running correctly was, in fact, the coffee, purecoffeeclub.com. But there was a but in there. We used to have the Explorer series. So we sell several coffees. We have the Double French. One is called Double French. It's a very oily, dark roast. It's a great Arabica bean. People who love that really dark, rich cup of coffee, that's like the New Orleans type coffee, that's there. People that love that kind of coffee, that's that. And then we have the Athletic Blend, which is arguably, Chris, you might know, our best seller. You wouldn't think it, because it's a higher caffeine coffee and we add a Robusta bean to it. Chris is saying number 2. It's our number 2 seller, Chris.
I think honey is the top.
The top.
At least in terms of repeat.
Right, of repeat buys. So we have the Athletic Blend, which is meant to have more caffeine, and we add a Robusta bean, a high-end Robusta bean. This is not like a cheap truck stop coffee. And people love the flavor of it. So we sell a shit ton. As a matter of fact, I make espresso using my Athletic Blend sometimes. I think I have one. Do I have one in here? No, I have House and I have French up there. I don't have the Athletic Blend down here. And of course, Chris just mentioned the honey process, which is a very rare coffee that we sell all the time. We get it year round from Costa Rica. And we're able to buy enough of it to make it throughout the year. We take the green beans and roast them. So you're getting freshly roasted coffee all the time from green beans. And then, of course, the House. We have the House. Those coffees never went away. Through all of it kept shipping on time and everything else. But we stopped advertising because I was having so much trouble getting the other companies back on track. I just stopped advertising the coffee also, so that we can have all hands on deck. Would you say that that's a true statement, Chris?
Yeah. Both literally and figuratively, yes.
Right. Chris and I are running the company. We have a skeleton crew. We got rid of all the fat and everything else. And that's the way we were running the company. And with that, the Explorer just remained the same Explorer. Now, the Explorer, what's that? Chris, I'm going to let you explain what the Explorer is and how that was working at one time.
So the entire concept of the Explorer is in the name, right? It's something different. every month or every 6 weeks, depending on how much of that small batch that we can get.
Right.
And what we like to do with that, and what we've always done in the past, and what we're going to start to do again. And Vinny, I'm curious, just because we talked a few hours ago, I'm curious if the new samples showed up for you, and if that's what you're sipping on right now or not.
No, because this is espresso made from my house. This is my house espresso, and the house makes a pretty good espresso, by the way. It's a different, folks. It won't taste like the dark. It's more of a fruity flavor. But yeah, that's what I'm drinking there. But I do have the samples for the new Explorer. But go on. They showed up.
So the entire point of this is that it gives you something a little bit different. So you can have something that you love, like the honey process, and dabble with something. And it's something that we can't usually get a lot of, or something that's just a different coffee. And if you're not a giant coffee person, you may not know that coffee has tastes or flavors. Right. Some coffees taste more like chocolate, some coffees. And I think the one sample they sent you, they said it's like a lemon blackberry thing, right? With no flavors, right? It's just the natural flavor of the bean, depending on where and how it's grown and what the weather is. It's kind of like wine.
Like people drink wine, and I have buddies who smoke cigars, and they'll go, "Oh, I can taste the cedar," and it's like it all smells like a cigar. Well, when you're smelling it, it all smells like a cigar. Which by the way, I love the smell of cigars and pipes. Call me nuts, right? I don't want to be in a room with them, but if it wafts through the air when I'm passing by, it reminds me of my grandfather. So it's like, oh yeah. But my friends who smoke cigars go, oh yeah, this has more of a coffee and cedar, and I'm getting straw. It's like straw. Come on, right? But people, wine people, it's like, oh, I'm getting stone fruit. But I can do that with coffee, right? Some have a really blueberry, like a blueberry. Some have more of a stone fruit, and on and on and on. It's kind of a vanilla in some of them. Chocolate is in most of them. So you can pick out the differences in coffees, the nuances. And with the Explorer, we usually sell a bag of Explorer for pretty close to the same price that we sell our other bags. Now, Chris will tell you sometimes they're $1 or $2 more than the other bags. But let me tell you something, folks. Most people would be selling the same bag of this stuff for $40, $50. You're getting a small batch coffee. That's that's the part we never advertise, Chris, is that you're getting a small batch coffee that the rest of the world can't get. And if you can get it, it's $35, $40 for 12 ounces. That's just what it comes to. We pass it along at pretty close to the same. Sometimes we have to add $1 or $2 to it so that we're not losing money. And you would say, well, Vinny, wait a minute. You're putting a product out there where you're not making a profit? Yes, I am. It's called a loss leader, folks. You get to take advantage. I'm trying to get people in to go, oh my God, this is a rare coffee. Let's taste this. What else does this guy sell? So we're taking a hit on it. We're not going to lose money, but it's a push for us. We're not making money on it. And you guys get to taste a coffee that would be double that price if you were even able to find it. Chris?
And from a self-serving perspective, it gives you a reason to taste a bunch of different stuff. Being a coffee snob, right? Like this is the entire point of something like the Explorer series is it's not something that you would find, right? They're all single origin. If you're not a coffee snob, right? Most coffees are blends. So it's some beans from here, some beans from here, and that's how you get the flavor. Or if it's Starbucks, it doesn't really matter. You just roast it until it's burnt and then pour it in a cup. However you want to handle it, right? But with the Explorer series, they're all single origin, and they're what's referred to as not even a small lot, but a micro lot. So it may be one coffee farmer down the street here from me that has something that's different, and it's something that's found. And if it's a big enough lot, that sounds weird to say. If it's a big enough small lot for us to know we can give it to people for a month or 6 weeks, then we take a look at it. We ask for a sample, and you get to sip on it and see what you like.
Chris lives in Juan Valdez Company, Colombia, which is one of the places that will grow very good coffee. And so he understands. And Chris, as you know, sometimes these small companies, like what happens is a region, like a guy will show up on a moped with one sack of coffee that they grew on their land, and it all gets thrown in. It's the coffee. It's literally the cherries, right? It's not the seeds. It's the cherries. So it's all these cherries, these coffee cherries. What we drink is made from the bean in the middle, the seed in the middle. And all of this stuff is thrown into a giant vat, and then a big truck comes. But when you have single origin, those are separated out. It's not a guy showing up on a moped getting his $5 for a sack of coffee of cherries. It's this is this, right? And that's what you're getting. And that's why it's that much more expensive, because it was grown a different way. Sometimes it's shade grown. Sometimes when they harvest and they put, it's called a patio, right? Where they put the beans to lay out, and they do, it's all done a different way. The patios are done a different way, shaded patios or sunlit patios, and on and on and on. I've been to these places. I've spent a lot of time in these places, and it does matter, and you taste it. But when you want to taste that coffee, it's a lot of money. We try to get it to you guys at the same price as our other ones, but sometimes we just can't do that. Right, Chris? Sometimes a bucket.
Yeah, and with something like the Athletic, that is a blend, right? It's called the Athletic blend. So it's easier for us to get the beans from a variety of places to make that blend, right? It's 10% of this, 5% of this, just like any other formula, right? With the Explorer series, it's essentially a single bean from a single place, right? So we're taking whatever our buddy Juan Valdez has and making it into a single bag of coffee versus mixing everything together. You'll have to remind me, Vin, after we get off. I have a couple coffee farms right down the street here from me that I walk past on a daily basis. And I have to tell you, coffee cherries smell amazing.
Everything about coffee, including the fact that it's good for your health. And I was a guy yelling about that before we knew it was good for your health. Back in the 80s. Now we're going to get into health, folks. We're crossing from coffee into health.
Are you sure about that? We didn't talk about this before we got on, but I like to come with some things to rile you up. So are you sure that coffee is good for you?
I'm positive it's good for your health. Are you going to talk to me about mycotoxins and mold?
Oh, no.
Okay. No. So Chris is going to probably bring some coffee stuff now. We're talking about it, but back in the 80s, the reason I am who I am today is I've always asked questions of stuff that doesn't make sense. Like, I'm the guy that's saying 10 years from now, we're going to look back on this GLP-1, these Ozempics and Mounjaros, and we're going to look back on these things and go, what were we thinking? Right? I think we're going to look back on the electric car one day and go, what were we thinking? Right? We're trying to convince ourselves we like electric cars. We don't. We know for a fact people turn them in. And not just the people who hate, what's his name, Elon and this and that and the whole thing, wave him bye-bye on Instagram to their car because they're making a political statement. I'm talking about one of my brothers works in the car business. He worked for Audi. People would buy a 100% electric car. They would come in while the cars still smell brand new within months and go, I know I'm going to lose a lot of money on this. I don't care. Get me the F out of this car and get me a combustion engine again, because I can't deal with this. I thought I could live with it. We were going to use my wife's car to go on longer trips and the whole thing. Can't deal with it, right? The range anxiety and always waiting for it to charge and never have a full charge, all the stuff, right? On and on and on. I think we're going to do the same thing with GLP-1s, but with coffee, I would not take the football field in the afternoon. When I was in college, we had a coffee machine going into the locker room. I would fill up a paper cup with coffee, styrofoam cup. I probably have styrofoam in my brain right now from it, and sip that while I was putting on my football equipment to get out on the field. A lot of guys did. There was a commercial going around back then called the Coffee Generation, right? What's the coffee generation doing, right? Coffee Achievers. There was a commercial called Coffee Achievers. And when I would ask doctors, why is coffee bad for me? Because I'd been drinking coffee since I was a little kid. I come from Italians, my great-grandfather, and they would give me cup. Look, I have a demi-tasse right here on my thing, right? I have these really cool demi-tasse. I have every kind of demi-tasse you can imagine. I drink espresso all day long.
That's Italian for shot glass, right?
Yeah, a small glass, a small cup, demi-tasse. Yeah. So, yeah, this is an Italian shot glass. We drink coffee. And I would ask doctors, why is coffee bad? They would go, caffeine. Why is caffeine bad? It causes hypertension. What are you talking about? Well, it raises your blood pressure. Okay, doc, put the cuff on me. Dr. Hirsch, I had put the cuff on me. He would take my blood pressure. I would drink a cup of coffee. Doc, didn't go up. Matter of fact, he would go, went down a bit. That's odd. Is it odd or is it God? Because God's a coffee drinker. See what I did there? None of it made sense to me. I couldn't even do a little experiment with our next door neighbor doctor. Did not make sense. It's like, now explain to me why coffee is bad. Well, caffeine's not good for your heart. Why? Because, well, it raises, it's like, no, it doesn't raise anything. We just did that. Well, it makes your heart beat faster. Because it's a stimulant, right? And back then, we only knew about caffeine. I didn't know that coffee had all sorts of flavonoids that were actually healthy for you. Chris, you better be looking up these flavonoids and all this crap right now. So we learned a lot about coffee over the years, to where just a few short years ago, the American Heart Association, people I generally hate because they lie about everything else, came out with a study saying every time you drink a cup of coffee, you 10% less chance of having a heart attack that day. If you drink 2 cups, you're up to 20%, 3 cups, 30%, and on and on and on. So if you want to have a heart attack, if you don't want to have a heart attack on any given day, have 10 cups of coffee, according to them.
You may feel like you're going to have a heart attack depending on how sensitive you are to caffeine.
So that's where I am on coffee. No one has ever been able to give me any other reason, because one year they would say, it's kind of like wine. We were talking about wine earlier. 1 year wine's good for you. 1 year wine's bad for you. They do the same thing with coffee, but over and over and over, it's shown to be a health food drink. It's as close to a perfect drink next to water that you can possibly have. Chris, you have anything on that? You look like you're chomping at the bit.
Oh, on which I have a few things over here for you, including the story that I had before we started this conversation, just to rattle you up, because I knew it would grind your gears.
Well, I'm on coffee right now. So what do we have on coffee? Is it good for us?
So that's that first one. So you said it's healthy for you.
Yeah.
One of the stories that I had comes to us from the friends across the pond here. Coffee is dangerous for you, warns European Union. You just listed off a whole bunch of reasons in the past why they've said that caffeine or coffee is bad for you, and most of that is junk, right? The blood pressure thing, do you know the actual source of that study? The source of that study was people who didn't normally drink coffee, right? So like, obviously the first time you do a stimulant, it's going to have a great effect on you. Right. If you do it consistently, it's going to have less and less of an effect. What do you think the reason is, Vinny, that the EU is looking at coffee?
I'm going to say it has something to do with mold or mycotoxins.
Caffeine itself.
Caffeine, you say?
Caffeine.
Okay, what's in caffeine that's not good for you?
The fact that it is used as an insecticide means that it is potentially dangerous to humans, and they are considering banning caffeine-containing foods.
Chris, do you know the difference between in vivo and in vitro?
In vivo would be in the living body, and in vitro would essentially be in a petri dish.
Right. Yeah. So they're saying that just because something is not good for one species, it can't possibly be good for another. So in other words, I know that avocados are not good for dogs. Does that mean they're not good for us?
I'm using coffee from my avocado cup.
I'm using their logic, right? Chocolate. I'm not talking about chocolate with any sugar in it. Cocoa, chocolate will kill a dog. Does that mean that cocoa beans are bad for us? I'm asking. Just
No, and in
because
fact, they're
something will
delicious.
kill an insect, does that mean it's bad for us? See, I could do this all day long, but I've given, I think, 3 good examples.
This is one of my favorite things that I've seen in a long time because I read through the article, I read through the behind the scenes of it. And essentially what they're saying is, well, there's some anecdotal reports that it could have an effect on your heart, on hydration, on body temperature, and it causes sleep problems. And on top of that, it's a pesticide. And we don't have enough evidence to prove that if you live near it or swallow it, that it could potentially be harmful. But
So
in
it's an
large
article
doses,
about
if
hang on.
swallowed,
It's
it
an
could be
article.
fatal.
It's an article about nothing, is what you're getting at.
They're reporting on something that's happening in the EU Parliament as we speak. And the reason was basically it's used as a pesticide. We want to ban it for that use and investigate if it's potentially harmful to humans as well, because we know caffeine, if swallowed, has all these adverse side effects. Okay. A cow, if swallowed, has adverse side effects. Beef,
Right.
cooked and turned into a hamburger, does not have adverse side effects, right? We're taking one thing in isolation. Vitamin C by itself, right? Take all the vitamin C in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what happens? You're going to run to the bathroom.
Right.
Eat an orange, probably not going to send you straight to the bathroom,
Right.
right? Like these things are not equal. That weight of vitamin C would have that effect on you.
Right.
Eating an orange of a pound of oranges would not have that effect on you.
So what you're telling me, if I just get a bunch of caffeine pills and take them, that's not healthy, but I can drink a cup of coffee?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just
Like
wondering.
this is what I don't understand. We're looking at everything in a vacuum again, right? And they're like, oh, well, caffeine. If you take 900 milligrams of caffeine powder, what was the Panera Bread? I think it was that had their electric caffeinated lemonade or whatever, and got sued over it because you had unlimited refills, and it was like 400 grams of caffeine or 400 milligrams of caffeine in every little cup that they gave you. Yeah, obviously, in excess, that can be a problem. But that's not coffee. That's not even the caffeine itself. That's the overconsumption.
Yeah, anything water overconsumed will kill you, folks. I just want to make a point here. Drink 2 gallons of water nonstop. It will wash out your electrolytes and you will be in danger of dying. If you did not get immediate medical help, you will die, or you will have you'll have problems. You'll end up in an emergency room even if you didn't die. You need immediate medical help. 2 gallons of water back to back. Good luck. Right? I hope you're not suicidal and listening to the show, because that would be the worst way in the world to die.
Oof.
I mean, anything in excess will kill you. Sorry. It's just the way it is. Now, I think I've had 2 gallons of coffee today, and I seem to be fine. I'm kidding. But yeah, you can't do anything. So thank you for that, Chris. What else you got there? I mean,
I thought that one would rile you up, and it's
just nuts. And by the way, when we started talking about coffee 20 minutes ago, I had no idea you had that story, because Chris and I do not talk about the stories.
this one last thing on this article. What is a common ingredient that we do not use at Pure Vitamin Club that is banned in Europe that you think they are comparing caffeine to? In this attempt to get all of the citizens of EU to be riled up.
We don't use, well, I know we don't use any kind of magnesium stearate. We do not use titanium dioxide. We don't use
titanium dioxide.
Right.
They're saying that's the comparison that they're making.
They're making a comparison between caffeine, not coffee. I want to be clear, folks. We're not talking about coffee here. We're talking about caffeine and titanium. It's something that will cause cancer and nanoparticles in your body. And they're comparing caffeine to that
because it can be harmful if swallowed. Caffeine just sitting around, they don't think that it necessarily has that effects for humans, but it can be harmful and cause cancer if swallowed. And so that's the comparison that they're making.
I loved when California decided that known to the state, they always do is known to the state of California, acrylamide is cancerous. Okay, the amount of acrylamide that could end up in a coffee cup is minute, right? Folks, you'll get more acrylamide when you cook a steak, right? The little burnt edges. If you go to certain places in this country, if you go get burnt ends in Kansas City, that's acrylamide, right? You would have to eat that all day, every day for the rest of your life and still not die from acrylamide. Known to the state of California, coffee can cause cancer. The truth behind that is no, it cannot. It cannot. But that's one of the, when people go, why did you leave California? It's like, because they got too crazy with these laws. It's why I've now moved all three of my companies out of California, right?
Isn't acrylamide, they use it in styrofoam. They also, isn't that what Panera, was it Panera? Subway got in trouble with a few years ago because they use it to make yoga mats, and it was like a major ingredient in their bread. Look, if you're eating styrofoam cups or your yoga mat, then potentially that's a problem for you. But the amount that you're getting in the crust on a steak or from roasted coffee beans is not going to get you there.
Chris, I went into a coffee shop the other day in town here. I was waiting for something, and I was like, oh, there's a coffee shop. And I walked in. The look on their face when I ordered a cup of coffee, and they said, what size? I said, whatever size you could put in a porcelain cup. The scrambling they had to do to go find the porcelain cup and then wash the dust out of it. They said, you're going to have to wait a minute. We have to wash it. It's like, it was just sitting on the shelf. I was like, yeah, it's been sitting on that shelf for about a year, maybe two. They had dust in it. They had to clean it out for me because the bad stuff in a cup of coffee when you buy it out somewhere is the cup it comes in, not the coffee in the cup. I think we've beaten this coffee thing to death, folks. Coffee is actually healthy for you. Go get coffee. And if you would like a really good coffee, go get mine, purecoffeeclub.com. What else you got there, Chris?
So from coffee to your second favorite topic, Vinny, eggs. I know everybody's been griping about the price of eggs, and I don't know what they're like near you, but apparently, at least according to my new favorite website, plantbasednews.org, the demand for vegan eggs is soaring because of the U.S. egg shortage. Now, you may be wondering, what is a vegan egg?
Chickens eat worms, so you can't, chickens don't just eat chicken feed, they eat worms. So how are they going to get a vegan? Wait, hang on. Are you meaning the egg is not real?
Yeah. Like, like Beyond Meat, right?
Oh, like that.
Oh yeah. Like that kind of it's the same as vegan beef.
Chris, I was all the way at, they had chickens eating vegan diets to create eggs.
I guess you could have a vegetarian egg, right? If you keep the chicken in a cage and only feed it grain and whatever, right? A natural chicken.
Wow. So this is not even an egg.
No. I mean, you've seen like the egg whites in you remember the old milk cartons, right?
Yeah. But that's in a milk carton. The bodybuilders in California they would buy cartons of egg whites, but those are real egg whites.
It looks like that. And the product that they're talking about specifically is a product called Just Egg.
I think
which contains 0% egg.
Yeah, people have sent me this. Let me look it up. Just Egg. People have sent me this on the Twitter. Oh, I've seen okay. And there's no egg in it. Yeah, people have sent me this on the X. Unbelievable. What's in it, Chris?
I don't know that you want to know. First question. For a product called Just Egg, if it contains no eggs, how is that okay?
Okay. Let me go back. While I'm giving my answer, I want to look at their product.
I'm going to pull it up for
Just
anybody that's watching the video version.
All right. So, yeah, pull it up and I'll look at it on the video version. Show me the front of the package, Chris.
Good Lord. Their website is hot garbage. Hang on.
Because here's the deal. You could put anything. I was yelling about this in 1989 when I used to do Talking Fitness on WSMB down in New Orleans. You could put anything on the front of the package. There is no truth in advertising on the front of a package, folks. I don't care what people say. You could put anything there. You call it just egg. You're just putting two words, just an egg, right? You don't have to have an egg in the product.
So right. In their defense, Vinny, it does say made from plants at the top.
On the front?
But then, yeah, hang on. Let me see.
Yeah, eggs from
just
plants.
Egg.
Yeah, I'm seeing it. All right, so Chris, I can't really read the ingredients. So can you go down the ingredient list for me?
Yeah, let me find somewhere that has it fully listed out for us. Let's see. Stop me when you hear eggs. Water. No. Mung bean protein isolate.
That's the number 2?
Yes. Expeller pressed canola oil. Dehydrated onion. Gellan gum. Carrot extract. Natural flavors. Turmeric extract. Potassium citrate, salt, soy lecithin, sugar, tapioca syrup, so 2 kinds of sugar in your eggs, and then a bunch of preservatives.
Okay. The healthiest product happens to be water. The only healthy product in there. There's seed oils. There's mung bean. It's nothing but carbohydrates. There is nothing healthy about it. Folks, I'm here to tell you an Oreo is healthier than this product. I'm not trying to be funny. I would rather see you start eating Oreos and smoking Camel cigarettes without the filters, and you're going to be healthier than eating this product. Period. I'm not making this up.
All right. You want the nutrition facts on this?
Go on.
So we know based on our egg conversation that a regular egg has 0.5 gram of carbohydrates, give or take, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just egg is 70 calories, 1 gram of carbs, no fiber, no added sugar. How is that possible? Oh, wait, it's less than 1 gram of added sugar and tapioca starch per serving.
So Chris, right? Go back. How much protein is in this?
5 grams.
Okay. And an actual egg has about 6 grams.
Yeah.
So you would say, well, it's kind of a push, but is it? I don't think so. And here's why. An actual egg has every amino acid known to man, everything we've ever discovered in amino acids in that egg. Why? Because everything in that egg can create a life, right? It can create an animal. It's an embryo. You're eating a perfect food. Why do you think snakes sneak into chicken coops to go get the eggs? A snake, a dumb animal, is smart enough to know this is the healthiest thing I can do today, is eat this egg, right? A snake knows that. Yet a vegan does not know that this is not as healthy as eating what a snake would eat. How is that even possible? You're dumber than an animal that slithers on the ground if you eat just egg. You're dumber. This animal knows more than you if you're eating just egg. Think about it, folks. If you have this product in your house, take a long look in the mirror and ask yourself what happened. What happened to me? You need to know. Because you can't move on with your life. If you're making that mistake, how many other mistakes are you making? Right? Chris, do you know what a Yugo is?
The vehicle?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You ever see Yugos around?
Yeah.
You do? Maybe in your country you do.
Yeah.
But Yugos, you never see anyone driving a Yugo. Why? Because it's one of the worst cars ever built. You know, it's the most dangerous car sold in America. Any idea? It's actually called a smart car.
The little tiny ones.
It's the most dangerous vehicle sold. It fails every crash test, flip test, every test. A car that's got smart in the title is the dumbest thing you can do. I'd rather see you get on a motorcycle and not even know how to drive a motorcycle. You have a better chance of living than being in a smart car. That's a fact. Right? Do you know
Have you ever been in one?
Yes. Howie Mandel bought one and drove it for 2 weeks and said, "Get this shit out of my driveway." Now Howie also has like Mercedes and all kinds of big giant cars, right? We drove to get a cup of coffee in it one day.
And you had your knees up around your ears.
It was weird. I was like, why did you buy this? He goes, because I thought it looked cool. I told him to bring it on over. They probably gave it to him and said, "Hey, here's this car." So here's the thing. What is the best, Chris? What do you think? Name the top 2 best cars sold in the United States.
Cars, like passenger cars?
Brands.
Toyota, probably Toyota and Honda in terms
you
of
hit it
popularity
both, right?
and reliability.
Toyota and Honda are the 2 best car brands. They have the best reliability, the best resale, the best everything. So you can make an argument that anything you buy that's not either made by Toyota or Honda is a dumb decision. But that's being a bit harsh, right? Because a Subaru is up there. A Hyundai is up there. There are other brands that are up there. And if you want a full-size truck, by all means, or if you need a heavy-duty truck, you got to go to one of the big 3, Chevy, Ford, or Dodge, right? Because Honda and Toyota does not sell that product. They sell a half-ton truck, and that's it. So if you want a 1-ton truck or something with a big diesel in it, you need to go to these other brands. I get that. But if you buy anything else, you're making a bad decision, right? You buy an Audi, you're making a bad decision because the Toyota is going to be better. The Honda is going to be better. Mercedes, you're making a bad decision. You're paying way more for less, right? But people like these other cars, and you can squint a little bit and go, okay, I'll buy the Mercedes because I really want that because I always wanted one, right? You can almost justify your bad behavior on that. But when you get to Yugo or you get to smart car, now you're making a dumb decision. The point I'm making is when a snake, something that has no legs, slithers on the ground, right? Spends its whole life on its belly, slithering around, can make a better decision than you. You need to question everything else about your life. I'm talking to you, vegans. You need to question everything else about your life. Here's a fact. A snake, an animal that slithers on its belly its entire life, will sneak into a chicken coop to eat an egg because the snake knows that the egg is the most nutritious thing it can get that day. Yet a vegan will go out and buy a product called Just Egg, which has absolutely no egg in it, and think that they're making a healthy decision. That's right, folks. An animal that spends its entire life on its belly, slithering on the ground, is smarter than the average vegan. Stay motivated. Okay. There you go, Chris. Debbie can take that and do something with it. Should I have said that they're smarter than the average? I guess that nails it shut, right?
Yeah, they have They have better dietary choices. And look, you and I have talked about this in the past. I have a nephew that has an egg allergy.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you're baking something or doing something, you have to find a substitute for eggs. But there's other ways to do that. That is not hot garbage. And the whole way that this is marketed, there's two ways that this is marketed, Vinny. One is a zero cholesterol egg alternative.
Okay. So
Because when
the one fatty acid, cholesterol, that your body needs in every single cell in order to propagate, in order to live, there's none of that in just egg.
Correct.
Just want to be clear. Now, let me ask you this. Your nephew is allergic to eggs. I understand that. But they don't try to substitute eggs, right? They just find ways to cut it out of his diet.
Outside of something like, I don't know, making monkey bread at Christmas where you need an egg to make the dough. No. Right. And if that's the situation that you're in, okay, so the whole reason that they have this product is for, I guess, vegans who want omelets. Make it different. Just make a different breakfast choice. Right? Like, if you can't eat eggs for whatever reason, don't eat not eggs. Like,
you've already made a bad choice by being a vegan. That's already a bad. Oh, Debbie, you might have two here. You've already made a bad choice. You decided to cut animal protein out of your diet. Bad choice. We need it to live and to be healthy. So why not make another bad choice? Why not start eating fake products to mimic what you really want to eat, which is an actual egg? Right? And stop with the tofurkey, right? In the near beef and the beyond. I did a whole documentary on it, Beyond Impossible, the Impossible Burger, the Impossible, the Beyond Meat. Stop. These are not real foods. These are harmful to your health. And you're not saving the planet, by the way. The reason you saw that polar bear sitting on a sliver of ice over in the Arctic or the Antarctic, wherever they are, they're in the Arctic, right? Are they in both?
Penguins in the Antarctic, polar bears in the Arctic.
Arctic. Thank you.
North.
North. They're up north, above Mississippi. Up north, folks. We're talking they're in Arizona and above.
America, Canadians, polar bears. That's
the way we do it. Greenland. All right. Iceland. Up there. Alaska. You see that polar bear on that sliver of ice, it doesn't mean that the polar ice cap is melting. That polar bear is there because he's hunting for fish. These things can swim hundreds of miles, and they do. So he's not like sitting on that thing about to die because that's all that's left to the ice cap. So don't stop with the global warming. Stop, because it's not happening. Go look at. Yeah, I'm all over. Chris,
well, if it is being
my last podcast ever, everyone's going to
arguably, if you're looking at this from an environmental standpoint, being a vegan is substantially worse for the environment.
Absolutely.
It's also way worse. You've talked about this to death, right? The other argument is, okay, animal cruelty, right?
Right.
What's worse? Murdering a bunch of animals that you're not going to eat, or at least making that life useful, right? For people who don't know, what happens when you run a combine through a field is you crush and chop up everything that's there.
We showed that in one of my movies, Left, Right,
rats and snakes to literally white-tailed deer, right? It's not a fun process. And it's not to say that you should never eat plants either, but if you're trying to do the best thing for wildlife and for the environment, monocrop agriculture and just egg probably is not one of them. One last thing on the vegan thing here. What is the biggest issue vegans have from a nutritional standpoint? What's the thing they miss the most?
Well, they miss several vitamins, including vitamin B12. They don't get enough of every vitamin, and the only vitamin you can get from animal protein is the only way to get B12 is from animal protein. So if we didn't have exogenous vitamins, you couldn't even be. So when veganism tried to start, no one could actually be a vegan because you would eventually die. Go on. Is that correct? Did I get it right?
Well, so they come from animal products, right? cholesterol. There's also a little bit of vitamin D in eggs,
Mm-hmm.
right? But two large eggs are like 40 to 50% of your daily B12 requirement. Guess how much B12 is in just egg?
I'm gonna go with 0.
Like 0.00, I think is what it
Mm-hmm.
says. There may be a trace because someone sneezed in the factory, and you got a little bit of B12 that way. But yeah, so you're
Well, if
substituting
dust
something.
falls into that would help too, because according to, and I'm not making this up, folks, because I'm not that good. Michael Greger says if you eat your vegetables with a little dirt on it, you could get some B12 from the dirt on your vegetables. I wish I was making that up. That's a real
Does that
statement.
does that come from the dirt or does that come from the poop on the dirt? Either way, but you're trying to make a better choice theoretically, right? You're saying I want to eat this because I don't want the cholesterol. First of all, dietary cholesterol, again, not a doctor. Dietary cholesterol doesn't have the link that we thought it did 30 years ago,
Right.
right? They don't even say that in the articles about just egg. They say, hey, like the cholesterol you're getting from eggs, not really that bad for you. But if you're looking for a zero cholesterol option, that's how much their marketing department has to hedge. But you're also missing out on B12, riboflavin, vitamin D, all of the things that make the egg perfect food. And it's not to say that you have to eat eggs. If you don't want to eat eggs, don't eat eggs, but don't substitute it with what looks like runny mustard until you fry it up in a pan. And also, it's shelf stable, right? So, like, let's not even think about how long that bottle of just egg could be sitting there before you need to use it.
Right.
But that's neither here nor there. It cracks me up that they're saying, "Hey, this is an egg substitute, and it substitutes none of the things of the egg except for potentially." And I'm not brave enough to try this. The the mouth pleasure, the way that eggs feel in your mouth, right? That's the only possible thing that it could possibly substitute is potentially the
No, it does.
texture of scrambled eggs.
It cannot. I'm telling you, I was invited, and I love this woman, and we haven't talked in years. She probably won't ever talk to me again. I don't know, but I love her to death. She's been a lifelong vegan. I still consider her a friend, even though we don't talk anymore. Alexandra Paul, the actress, in one of my favorite movies, American Flyer. Right. Um, Alexandra Paul invited me my first year in LA, invited me over for Thanksgiving. That was the beginning of our friendship. We weren't really friends yet. She was very, very kind to invite me over. She barely knew me, but she knew I was in town for Thanksgiving. I was already in LA. She knew that I knew no one except her. She was a friend of a friend. That's how we met. And I did not realize I was being invited to a vegan. I should have known, because the first time I had lunch with her, we met at a restaurant in Westwood, and I had a salad. I mean, she had a salad and I had like salmon, right? I should have known right there. But, women eat salads. She was, all right, women eat salads for lunch, I guess. I didn't notice that she didn't order any protein on her salad, right? I didn't notice anything. I get to this vegan, I get there. There is no turkey. There is tofurkey. That's the first time I thought they were making it up. It's like, oh no, we have a tofurkey. And I'm like, what's that? It's like, it's a loaf of soy, cud. I don't even know what you would call it. Like, just a
Ground
big
up
loaf.
soybeans,
Yeah, it's just a big
soy dough.
soy dough. And it was shaped kind of like a turkey, just like a loaf in the oven. And they sprinkled stuff on it to make it, to kind of brown it up and to give it a flavor. And, they were putting all kinds of seasoning on it and the whole thing. And it's like, this was like a Saturday Night Live skit. This was back in 1990, 91, somewhere back then. I couldn't believe what was going on. And it was like, note to self, I really like Alexandra a lot. She's a really cool chick. And we really connected on a lot of things, like, athletics and that kind of thing. Do not ever go to her house for dinner again. That is not good.
Lessons learned.
Yeah.
So, this same company that makes this, which by the way, this is not actually a vegan product. according to vegans, just like how I think it was avocados aren't vegan because they transport bees to fertilize avocado trees.
Mm.
It was tested on animals because it had to be approved by the FDA to be sold as a food.
Mm.
Okay. This same company, about a year ago, got approval from the FDA to start down the path of selling cultivated meat, specifically chicken. Does that phrase make sense to you? Do you understand what that means?
Yeah, I know that the Italians and a couple of other people in the European Union who we were talking badly about earlier in the same show, literally when they say, no, we're good. No, no, no effing way. You know it's bad. Because think about what we said at the beginning of the show. These people were looking at coffee going, caffeine, I don't know. When Europe goes, no effing way, by the way, folks, Europe is a place where you can eat horse. I kid you not. When you go to Italy, do not automatically assume you're getting beef. You have to ask. You may be getting horse. You ever hear of something called Cordovan leather? The finest leather in the world comes from Italy. You want to know what kind of animal Cordovan comes from? That's right, horsey. It's horse. It's horse leather, right? That's what Cordovan is. So,
is it wrong to get a Cordovan saddle to ride a horse?
Wow. Mind blown.
Is that an extra level of wrong?
Oh, that's like, hey, Trigger, you want to see what's going to happen?
This was your cousin. Yeah.
Yeah. You keep effing up on these rides, and I'll be riding you a different way. So, yeah, I mean, Europe will feed you horse, no problem. Right? They said no. They said no to fake meat, right? Let that sink in, as they like to say. Just let that sink in a bit.
If you're not acquainted with the concept, when we say cultivated meat, what it actually means, Vinny, is cultured meat and not like fancy English accent chickens, right? It means they took chicken or beef or whatever and grew it in a petri dish and turned it into a chicken breast or turned it into, probably ground chicken is probably the texture that they would be going for there. But yeah, not necessarily a vegan company marketing a product that's not necessarily vegan to vegans as a replacement for a thing it doesn't even come close to replacing. And apparently people are buying it up because the price of eggs has gone up.
Yeah, I get it. I get that, wherever there's a hole in the market, someone's going to fill it, right? But I look at it and go, you know what? The price of eggs went up, which is very sad because a lot of poor people are now looking at eggs as a delicacy and it shouldn't be that way. I feel bad for those people, but I'm going to keep buying eggs. I'll cut something else out to keep buying eggs, right? I'll wait an extra week to get a haircut to keep buying eggs. I will put cheaper gas in my car to keep buying eggs. I will do everything in my power, right, to keep buying eggs.
Vinny, how much is a dozen eggs near you?
Well, it's odd because I see them on the shelf for between $6 and $9, but there's always a deal on eggs in the same thing. Like, when I go to like Harris Teeter, like they got every brand, or if I go to Whole Foods, they have every brand. They will have next to the $6, $7, and $8 eggs, there will be some eggs and it'll say free range, this, that, and the other thing. And there'll be between $3.50 and $4 a dozen.
For 12.
For 12. A dozen's 12, Chris.
Yeah. No, I'm making sure your math didn't change because the biggest thing that I have found from Just Egg so far is a 16-ounce carton which is 10 servings.
Mm-hmm.
They're calling a serving the equivalent of 1 egg. On Amazon, it is $7.99.
Okay.
How is that less expensive?
I'm buying eggs for way cheaper than that. As a matter of fact, the other day I saw a deal in Whole Foods. I saw the eggs and it's like $7.99. And I'm like, woo. And then and it's like, oh, that's the 18 carton, right? The carton and a half for $7.99. So you're getting a carton and a half. So I did the math. And I went, okay, that's worth it, because they were like organic, raised outdoors by an Amish guy and his wife, all that kind of stuff, right? And they were great eggs.
Cultured chickens. Oh, that's the
non-cultured, because they're Amish. Not a whole lot of culture in that group. So you understand what I'm saying here, right? It's like you can find eggs even at Whole Foods. You would think, oh, it's Whole Foods, hoity-toity, Whole Foods. Not so much. Not so much. You could find cheap eggs there. That's what. And by the way, right next to them, you see the ones for $8 and $7 and the whole thing. But yeah, you're saying that these things cost for 10. You're looking at $7.99, and eggs you get, the expensive ones, $7.99. You get 12. Makes no sense. Makes no sense to me.
Oh Lord, Vinny, the other place, and we've talked about this for fitness equipment, but if you want eggs and can't find them at a decent price in your grocery store, Facebook Marketplace.
Really?
Somebody near you has some chickens. I guarantee it. And with the price of eggs right now, there's a good chance you're going to find it. I just looked right outside my parents' house. Either A or double A, $4 a dozen from a local farmer.
And by the way, when we go hiking, I'm going to be doing a lot of hiking coming up. There's a mountain I go to because there's like a 3-mile uphill. So I could do laps on a 3-mile uphill. On the way back, on some Saturdays and Sundays, you'll see a couple of signs on the way, because it's out in the country a bit. We have eggs today. They leave the sign out until all the eggs are gone, right? So you're getting those eggs fresh. I mean, the chicken didn't even notice them missing yet, right? It's like, these eggs are fresh right now, right? And you come home, you just leave them on the counter. You don't even have to refrigerate them. Fresh eggs. I always grab a couple of dozen when I'm passing by. Just knock on the door. They bring them out to you. How many would you like? I'll take 3 dozen. Thank you very much. And it's always somewhere between $3 and $4. It's always an even number, right? Could be $3, could be $4. Boom. And they all take Venmo.
Yeah.
I never have cash. Can I do the Venmo? Absolutely. We'll call it right there, Chris. We've been going at this for a while.
Now Vinny's going to go make an omelet for dinner just out of spite.
I just might. Ham and cheese omelet. Actually, that sounds good.
Just the exact, as least vegan as you can make it. Throw some creme fraiche in there. Big knob of butter in the pan.
You know what?
All the animal products.
I could probably make ham and cheese, because we just got back from New York, but I know we have some ham in there. We definitely have cheese. I'm wondering, I could probably take some Louisiana hot, crush up some tomatoes, kind of make like a little salsa to put on top or something. Well, maybe we have an avocado. I can make it a whole kind of Spanish.
Oh.
Wait a minute. If we have an avocado, I can do avocado and cheese and cook it in there. I'm starving right now.
Wait, hang on. Do you like hot avocado?
No, what you do is you let the eggs cook most of the way, and you put the cheese before you fold it. You put the cheese, let that melt, and right before you fold it, you put the avocado, a couple of slices in, and you fold it, and then just give it like a minute and pull it out. You don't let it sweat. You don't cook it down. Right.
I was concerned for a minute. I'm sure there's some form of something with hot avocado in it that's good. Just that did not resonate with me for some reason.
Sometimes if you have, I don't think we have it right now, because we just drove back. We drove up to go see Tallulah for her birthday, and we just drove back from New York. But if you have like Hatch chilies or something like that to put in there, That really does the trick. You can make omelets so many different ways, taste good, you know?
What's to me the best thing about it now, and now we're descending into eggs again, is it's a great way to use up whatever you have left,
Yeah.
right? So you have a quarter of a carrot left, grate it up, throw it in there, right? You have a little bit of zucchini left over from the night before. You have a little bit of whatever the side you had, your meat jewelry from the night before. You can throw that in there. It's going to taste good. It's really hard to screw up an omelet if you have the basic capability to cook an egg.
Yeah. I do this quite often. We do chilies around here, especially in the winter. Serena makes fresh chilies, no beans, right? So about a week ago, we had the chili, and I saved a little tiny bowl of it. And I also chopped up some extra onions, right? Next morning, I got up, I don't know, threw 5 or 6 eggs in a blender. I put a little heavy cream in that blender with it. It froths them up that much. And I put them in my Vitamix, mix them up, get that real foamy. You pour it into a hot skillet, not too hot, medium hot. Don't let it get too hot, folks. You don't want to scar it up too much. Let that simmer, let that cook through. You drop your cheese in there. I grated a fresh, how you say, cheddar. I had some good cheddar. I just grated a little bit in there, right? And then I took a little bit of the chili and I put it in there, right? I just put a little bit in there. Then I folded it over because I like the inside of my omelet to stay creamy. Like I don't cook it. And that sounds gross to some people, but it's in there with the chilies and it's hard on the outside, it's mushy on the inside. And then I pour the rest of the chilies on top, the chili on top, and then put a couple of avocados and then whip it with a little creme fraiche right there on top. And then I took the onions, the raw onions, sprinkled them on there. Like I'm not religious, but there may be a God. There may be a God. And by the way, I've done that same thing for dinner. When Serena makes a fresh chili, I'll make that same thing. If I don't want to just eat a big bowl of chili, I want to, maybe I had a hard workout, it was leg day or something. I'll make that same thing at night. People go, I don't know what to eat on these low carb diets. Come to my house. I'll get you rocking and rolling pretty fast.
One last question before we end. Beans or no beans?
In chili? No beans.
And not just because you're NSNG, you're Mr. NSNG, or?
Beans are always there as a filler, right? Why put a filler in? Now, Serena will put beans from time to time, but she knows I prefer the chili without beans.
So you're much more of a Texas style than anything else, which
Yeah.
is much better for an omelet than, having a random kidney bean pop up in there. That's just
it makes no sense. She'll put like just a few beans in there. I'm like, why did you even bother? Well, we have people coming over. They like beans in the chili, right? Like we made one during Christmas. Her family was over. So all of a sudden, I come down, I look at my chili. It's got a couple of beans in it. It's not a whole lot. And I was like, why is it even in here? Well, my family likes it like that. Okay. Get your family out of here and stop making chili again, honey. Come on.
There's a reason we fought a revolution.
Yeah.
Beans
got away from
beans and chili and coffee over tea. Those were the two main driving forces behind the American Revolution. That's what we learned on this podcast today.
Exactly. Folks, listen, we talked about the coffee earlier in the show. You can go get purecoffeeclub.com right now. We're working on a new Explorer that's going to be out soon. I'm tasting them tomorrow. I will make a decision, and then you guys will get to taste the same coffee at or close to the same price that we sell everything else. Pure Vitamin Club, everything is shipping. We ran a little short on Ultra Salt, but it's okay. It won't be months like it was before. We're going to be out of Ultra Salt for like 3 days, Chris, and it's coming in.
Yeah, it should actually. By the time people are hearing this, it should be back.
Yeah, it's being bottled right now. So, yeah, sometimes that happens. We sell the stuff, we order it way ahead of time, but you guys love this product. Every ultra runner, every ultra cyclist out there, we're getting into springtime now. Everyone's training again. We had a big run on it. Get the Ultra Salt. Keep several bottles hanging around. That's at purevitaminclub.com. And of course, Ultra Fat at NSNG Foods. By the way, maybe by the time you hear this, all three will be on the same website. You can find all of those products together on the same website. I told you I'm changing everything around here, and I'm not effing around. I'm changing everything. I'm making this a better company for you guys. So go check it all out. You can check Chris out here, or if you have any problems with anything, contact him at any of my companies. You never know. He might write back to you. If not, you can complain to me over on X.
Or just yell at me directly on X. That usually results in getting
what's
things.
The thing on X?
NSNG Chris.
NSNG Chris over at X. Go yell at him. Stop yelling at me. On behalf of Chris, my name is Vinnie Tortorich. Put life into living and do it with enthusiasm.